Hello and welcome. You're watching UATV News with me, Ksenia Buhai. Let's start with the latest developments. Russia remains the only party responsible for the delay in negotiations between the leaders of the Normandy format, while Ukraine, France and Germany are ready for them. This was stated by the press secretary of the President of Ukraine. According to Nykyforov, there are no alternatives to the Normandy format of negotiations on settling the situation in eastern Ukraine.
The timing and level of the next Normandy meeting are in doubt. The format is beyond any question. This is an uncontested platform for ending the conflict in the east of Ukraine. We believe that the essence of negotiations is getting results. If the Russians insist that the outcome should be known before the start of negotiations, this calls into question the negotiation process itself. We call on Moscow to cooperate. Donbass is waiting for peace.
The Pentagon observes the movement of Russian troops near the border with Ukraine and calls on Moscow to clarify its intentions. This was stated by spokesman for the U.S. Department of Defense, John Kirby. He answered the question of whether the information that 90,000 Russian servicemen are on the border with Ukraine corresponds to the Pentagon's estimates.
We continue to see concerning movements by the Russian military around in their western areas and around Ukraine. We continue to call on them to be clear about what their intentions are, what they're actually doing, and to abide by the Minsk agreements and to respect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine.
Illegal armed formations continue violating ceasefire in Donbass, using weaponry that is prohibited under the Minsk agreements. On the eve, Russian-backed militants fired at residential areas near the contact line. More updates from the front line in the following report.
Shelling began in the evening before. As a result, the distribution gas pipeline was seriously damaged in the Nizhny village. 773 buildings were left without gas supply, among them are private houses, hospitals and schools.
Two settlements, Nizhny and Krymske, were left without gas supply. In Nizhny, it has already been restored, while in Krymske about 500 objects are still remaining without gas. Russian-backed militants know where everything is located. It is impossible to accidentally hit dozens of rounds in civilian objects.
Meanwhile, in the village of Svitlichna, illegal armed formations fired at the premises of water utility company, which under the Minsk agreements supplies water to the territories that are not controlled by Ukraine. Several buildings, special equipment, as well as electrical supports were damaged. Representatives of the Joint Center for Control and Coordination of Ceasefire report that militants used 122mm artillery prohibited under the Minsk agreements. The Trilateral Contact Group says that this indicates the deployment of Russian equipment close to the contact line.
I address the authorities of the Russian Federation. Do not defend me, a Russian-speaking one in Ukraine. Nobody offends me here, nobody attacks me. Our population suffers from your so-called protection. Thanks to your efforts, our people were left without heat and water supply. Thank God they are alive. It could be worse, but as the result of shelling, one serviceman was killed and 2 more wounded.
At the next meeting of the Trilateral Contact Group, the Ukrainian side plans to present all the evidence of the shelling and call on the OSCE to monitor positions in the area of Svitlichna village as soon as possible, reported by Nick Starkov and Danilo Kobza, UATV News.
Ukraine should be ready for any development of events and at any time in connection with Russian aggression. This was stated by Vice Prime Minister, Minister for the Reintegration of the Temporarily Occupied Territories, Vereshchuk. She commented on foreign media's articles about the alleged accumulation of Russian troops near the borders of Ukraine.
Действительно, есть напряжение.
Indeed, there is tension. Indeed, there is some kind of rotation of troops. It, in turn, can be planned or it can be unplanned. Escalation can always happen without video from satellites and so on. But the fact that we are ready to defend ourselves and we ask the population not to panic, we ask to understand that this is an instrument of a hybrid information war. That is, we'll live in peace, work, help each other, try to understand what is happening, critically read the information situation and evaluate it critically. We understand that we have been under the hybrid attacks of the Russian Federation for 8 years, and of course we understand that this may continue for some time. The former commandant of the illegal prison Izolyatsia, which is located in the temporarily uncontrolled Donetsk, was detained in Kyiv. This was reported by the Security Service of Ukraine. According to the detectives, the man was involved in homicide and torture. Journalist Stanislav Aseyev, who was illegally held in that prison for some time, named the detainee. This is Denis Kulikovsky. Those who went through Izolyatsia call it a concentration camp, while Kulikovsky its main executioner.
As for the former militant, legal procedural actions are carried out, in particular regarding his delivery to the court for choosing a preventive measure, as well as obtaining additional information about his illegal activities. The perpetrator was detained within the framework of a criminal proceeding under 4 articles of the Criminal Code of Ukraine.
An ethical council of judges has been formed in Ukraine. It will determine whether the candidate for the position of a member of the High Council of Justice meets the criteria of professional ethics and virtue. It consists of 3 representatives from the Council of Judges and international organizations. The first composition of the ethical council has already been greeted by the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. According to him, this will be an important step in the implementation of the judicial reform.
I hope that the Ethics Council will start its work as soon as possible. Despite considerable resistance, we managed to begin the most important stage of the changes I initiated in the judiciary. The formation of the virtuous High Council of Justice and High Qualification Commission of Judges of Ukraine will help restore Ukrainians' trust in the judiciary and ensure further cleansing of the system.
Systemic operational changes in the state railroad management company Ukrzaliznytsia, renovation of the rolling stock, as well as building and repairing of the tracks. Those were the main issues discussed during the big construction of the new railroad forum held at the Expo Center of the Kyiv railway station. According to forum participants, in a couple of years, the state plans to electrify 500 kilometers of Ukrainian railways. Besides, visitors could also see the new Ukraine-made carriages and locomotives presented at the forum. President of Ukraine, who opened the forum, paid particular attention to the investments that the Ukrainian railways are planned to get, while the Prime Minister told about the government's plans to revive this sphere in general.
We already have the first important positive results. For the first time in 12 months, the Ukrzaliznytsia company achieved profitability. It has already received more than $76 million of additional costs this year. And next year it will surely receive more than $450 million. A year ago, our team was at Krukivsky Carriage Works. We talked to the team, talked a lot about the jobs lost, about the prepared production facilities and the lack of orders. And today the first 100 passenger cars have been purchased at the state expense. Another 500 have already been ordered. Thus we are starting a new stage of railway changes.
Full combat readiness, the cutting-edge military equipment and tactics were shown by National Guard of Ukraine units. Several dozens of military attaché and international partners observed the drill. Our correspondents were present there as well. Paratrooper dropped from a helicopter, long-range shooting, and the sniper spotted for teamwork. Special skills by the National Guard of Ukraine were shown to diplomats and international partners.
The National Guard plays an important role in the security and defense system of the country. At present, some 5,000 National Guardsmen serve in the Joint Forces Operation Zone in eastern Ukraine.
We were dispatched to deter an enemy force on this ground. There was a task and it was fulfilled. I guess the enemy has faced our might and response. It's not an easy job and not a job for everyone. It should be done only by a call of heart. When you are confident that you can, you will overcome everything.
Daily and nightly, Guardians study and polish new tactics to defend the country. On this video, a group of paratroopers conduct an airdrop from a helicopter to neutralize a group of militants.
Для нас дуже важливо демонструвати.
It is very important for us to show the progress we have made over the past few years, including one made here on this training ground. And our main task is to show our partners that we are getting stronger and more capable year by year, given that over the past 2 years, the National Guard has become a full member of the Gendarmerie and police forces of European and the Mediterranean countries. We have shown a very high level.
One of the functions of the National Guard is to ensure public order. It requires more than just equipment, but also tactical skills to eliminate any danger without loss. Ukraine cooperates with many international partners to ensure security. After today's demonstrations, military attachés were once again convinced of the serious military preparation of Ukrainian units.
I can inform you, I will now transfer to Berlin. Well done. Well done in the question of training and preparation of this event. Well done in the preparation of your capabilities, like the headquarters, like the ammunition, like the weapons we saw.
Finally, the National Guard staged an imitation of a battle at the training ground with the involvement of armored personnel carriers and aerial vehicles, reported by Nick Starkov and Vlada Tsurkan, UATV News.
The Netherlands provided Ukrainian border guards with protective equipment against COVID-19. These are medical masks, protective clothing, respirators and isolation gowns. They will be distributed among the checkpoints along the Ukrainian borders, as well as transferred to the medical institutions of the border guard service. The total cost of the humanitarian aid is about $340,000.
Я горжусь, что я могу здесь быть.
I'm proud that I can be here. I'm proud of the cooperation. Cooperation will also give us information about what is happening. Therefore, I'm very glad that we can do something really necessary.
Це маленька частинка.
This is a small part of the assistance that we have received from the Kingdom of the Netherlands, and it will help us protect our staff. As you know, border guards meet and counteract the coronavirus from the first day. We all have a common enemy, the coronavirus, which must be stopped, and people should be protected.
Today, the European Commission has removed Ukraine from the list of countries where travel restrictions are lifted. That is, from now on, the non-essential travel to the EU from Ukraine is banned. This is made due to the surge of the coronavirus pandemic. New travel restrictions will come into force in accordance with further decisions of the EU member states. The recommendation does not apply to fully vaccinated citizens. The list of restrictions is updated every 2 weeks. The situation with the COVID-19 in Ukraine. Over the past day, 833 people have died from complications of the disease. This is the highest number since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. Almost 19,000 people fell ill. Most of all new cases are registered in the Dnipropetrovsk and Lviv regions. The Minister of Health warns that the red quarantine zone may expand in the near future.
Наразі 17
regions are in the red level of epidemic danger now. We have already made a presentation to the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine on convening a commission on technogenic and environmental safety and emergency situations to consider the issue of putting the Cherkasy region to the red zone of epidemic danger. Vinnytsia and Kharkiv regions are in the risk zone.
Medical oxygen for treatment of critically ill patients with coronavirus disease is supplied to the Ukrainian hospitals without interruption. It is about 350 cylinders a day. This was reported by the National Nuclear Energy Generating Company of Ukraine, Energoatom. The company received a license to produce medical oxygen back in March this year. It is produced at 3 nuclear power plants located in the cities of Zaporizhzhia, Rivne and Khmelnytsky.
The Mykolaiv region also applied to us. We are releasing our produce there as well. The Yuzhno-Ukrainska nuclear power plant is the only station that doesn't release medical oxygen. This was due to technical problems. Now the company's management has set a task and developed project. And the reconstruction of the nitrogen and oxygen station will be held. Since April, we have already delivered about 24,050 cylinders. And by the end of the year, we plan to deliver about 10,000 cylinders more.
Today, Ukraine marks the Day of Ukrainian Writing and Language. The National Unity Radio dictation was traditionally held on this occasion. The author of the text is writer Yuri Andrukhovich. Anyone from all over the world could join the action. In Ukraine, there were offline locations where people wrote the dictation together. One of them was located in the Vereshchuk National Library in Kyiv. About 100 people gathered there to test their knowledge of Ukrainian language. Among them were school children and students, writers, politicians, and diplomats.
Я дуже люблю писати диктанти.
I really love writing spelling tests. A year ago, I could only take part in its online version. Today, I was in a library. This is for the first time I come here. I think it is very important to focus on a language, to write clearly without mistakes, at least to try to.
З приводу інтонації по розділовим знакам.
I have some doubts regarding intonational punctuation. Well, Mr. Andrukhovich has put an ease. He said he has never achieved excellent marks in spelling tests. There were some moments with fresh rules. For example, half a life or півжиття, as it sounds in Ukrainian. It used to be a single word earlier. Now it's 2 words. That's all for today. More updates on our official website, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter pages. Stay healthy and take care of yourself.